Part 72. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 714. It's annoying, Lord Assassin, why did you leave this entire Earth's military mess to me? Alas, how can I win when facing the Rulan Empire's powerful semi-combat aircraft carrier? What should I do? Escape? But in the past 10 years, the people on Earth have been very good to the subordinates we brought with us, the assassins. Is it true that we escaped? Oh, Carrie, do you want to escape? Haha, have you forgotten what I said? If you want to escape, I will kill you. A faint voice appeared in the ear of this 25-meter monster. Who, when this seemingly familiar sound of brainwave power appeared, the monster in the deepest part of the Earth Alliance headquarters almost jumped to its feet. He thought that an enemy assassin had touched him, and he was frightened out of his wits. But he looked around for a long time and found no living creatures. What? Carrie, have you even forgotten me? The voice seemed to be able to see his movements, and asked a little jokingly at this moment. You, who are you? Are you the killer of the Rulan Empire? This Carrie clearly has the strength of the mid-level heaven level, but he is still extremely timid. At this moment, he felt horrified at the sudden sound. Chu asked. Carrie is really scared. As the most powerful person on Earth, he can't find this sudden existence at this moment. This can only mean that the other party's strength is almost more than he knows how much. Maybe they all have it? Maybe it's the legendary starry sky level existence in the entire Yingxian arm. Damn it, if it is a starry sky level existence, how can the Earth be able to block it? Only the return of the Assassin Lord can stop it? Assassin Lord, person, as soon as he thought of the Assassin Lord, this existence suddenly, I realized that the voice that was transmitting the message just now seemed to be somewhat similar to the assassin who had disappeared for 10 years. Could it be, that he is really the assassin? Carrie looked around in surprise. Haha, Carrie, it seems you have guessed who I am, the voice laughed lightly. Tick, stab, thorn, Lord Assassin? It's really you, haha, great, Lord Assassin, you don't know how much I miss you. In the past 10 years, they have said to leave the people on Earth alone, or surrender directly, but I don't agree. Woohoo, Master Assassin, Carrie is really under a lot of pressure, but Carrie will never betray you, Carrie will always be your most loyal subordinate. We haven't seen each other for 10 years, and I don't know if it was caused by Earth film and television. This Carrie's acting skills have improved, and now he is pretending to be doing his best. But at this time, Jia Yan in a distant place did not know that Carrie could hardly imagine the extent of the current strength of the Mosquito. In these 10 years, he really defended Jia Yan, a leader who had disappeared and was even considered dead by several of the subordinates Jia Yan brought back then. Because Karui has carefully analyzed the rumors of giant mosquitoes spread by people on Earth over the years. As a result, the more he analyzed, the more he understood the true identity of Jia Yan, the giant mosquito. Where in the world do so many giant mosquitoes come from? Hikarui is almost certain that people on Earth believe that there is only one giant mosquito family from the beginning to the end. That is, his leader, the assassin. If this is really the case, then the speed of the assassin's progress is far beyond his imagination. This is also the real reason why Karui has maintained the reputation of the giant mosquito family for 10 years and even raised the Geo family to the status of almost a godlike family on Earth. But at this moment, before the war is about to start, the assassin really appears. Carrie was already trembling after just a few words of brainwave power. At this moment, he only felt an unfathomable meaning in the brainwave power of this conversation. How strong will this be? He was not wrong in his bet. The assassin appeared again. It had only been 10 years, but he had already reached a level that he could not even imagine. That's right, Carrie. It's me, I'm back, Jia Yan's voice over there, with a faint smile, was filled with relief. He had just heard that this being seemed to want to escape, but actually listening to the meaning of his words, he actually did not really want to escape. Moreover, Carrie had done well in the entire Earth's defenses and preparations before the war. Extremely outstanding, at least much better than he is at this moment. Before leaving, he positioned this being as the leader of the Earth fleet just because he was the most powerful being besides himself. But at this moment, Jia Yan was a little relieved that he had chosen him. The other alien beings would not necessarily regard him as the leader. The Earth is taken care of so well, and the status of the Geo family has been brought to such a high level. You have done well over the years, and I understand your difficulties. Now that I am back, you don't have to worry about the war. There is a strong confidence in Jia Yan's smiling words, which is transmitted to him through the power of brain waves in each other's ears. Big, sir, Carrie didn't feel much at first, but when he heard Jia Yan's praise, he actually felt a sense of grievance. 10 years, a whole 10 years, he had been appointed by the assassin for the same reason. Just how much energy he spent on the growth and war of the Earth fleet, thinking about it now, he didn't understand how he could devote so much to a force whose leader didn't know life and death. By the way, Carrie, there should be a call coming to you later. It's from the Geo family guard team. If they ask you if you know MOK, just say yes and remember it. Yan Wike heard him say so much, but after the brainwave power was transmitted, the contact was cut off. Sir? Your Majesty. Carrie, who was hundreds of kilometers away, shouted a few words into the surrounding air, but received no response, so he understood that Jia Yan did not want to contact him anymore. But even so, he was so happy that he almost laughed. What is the current tension of the enemy? What nonsense is Rulan Empire's semi-combat aircraft carrier? 10 years ago, Lord Assassin was able to deal with a semi-combat aircraft carrier. Today, 10 years later, you don't even know how powerful it is. At this point, when they come, they may cry. Haha, what? Someone called me and asked me if I knew MOK? Just say yes, and I have some guesses about who he is. Of course, you can just tell the Geo family that you know, and the rest of the Geo family can go on their own. During Kari's joy, he heard an Earth liaison officer reporting the Geo family's inquiries. At this moment, he naturally followed Jia Yan's instructions. In the testing field on the other side, the strong man who had just spoken to the Earth Alliance headquarters raised his head in surprise, and happened to look at Jia Yan not far away. Now he doesn't dare to act like a high-ranking person at all. You must know that if this MOK is an existence trained by the mysterious alien master, even if his brainwave strength is stronger than the opponent, he may not be able to win. Possible. It's not that it's impossible, but it's absolutely impossible. He thought he couldn't crack the move MOK used just now? Sir, you don't know what my position is? Of course, the person behind me wants me to take on a slightly more important task. Jia Yan came to the strong man and asked in a low voice. The strong man lowered his head in horror, thinking that the other party had flattened the sharp dagger with his bare hands before, and he really didn't want this MOK to get close to him at this moment. Let's do it this way. A protector of the eldest princess of the Geo family happens to be injured due to a mission. You go and take over his position temporarily, the strong man said. Such a close-range mission with the Geo family is an extremely important mission, but the other party is from the Alliance, so it doesn't matter if it is given to the other party such a mission. Of course, let him, along with the other passers-by here, accept the test of the madam who may truly be the strongest person on Earth within the Geo family. Only then can you officially pass the test. The eldest princess of the Geo family, Jia Yan, couldn't help but smile bitterly when he thought of the scene yesterday where Jia Lin knocked down a guard. The injured guard was probably talking about that old man. It's probably hard for this strong man to explain directly that he was injured during the mission, but that he was beaten by the little princess he was talking about. Okay, I'll accept this task. Jia Yan smiled lightly. Find bookstore. After that, a group of members who had just become the official garrison had a new task. It was said that the rules were that they went to a small room, and then one by one went to the superior to ask them about their details. The members of this group were all a little surprised. They thought that coming to Jia's house required such powerful questioning methods, but they didn't expect that it was just that simple. Only Jia Yan understood that when they came to this small house, inside the Jia family, there was a woman taking small steps, gently coming to the outside of the house, and then using her brainwave power to deal with this group of beings. Answers and pass the tests one by one. Under the influence of this brainwave power, the members of the defense team who answered the questions could not hide their inner fluctuations. Fortunately, almost everyone had no problems, and soon it was Jia Yan's turn to play. Jia Yan clearly felt that the woman's brainwave power had strengthened a bit, and she seemed to attach great importance to him. But the difference in strength between the two sides is too great. Even if the opponent is a terrifying heaven-level peak existence, for Jia Yan, who has almost reached the level of Starry Sky Lord, this level of strength is completely insufficient. He is only slightly a few brainwave powers can make the other party think that he is not lying. When he finished answering and all the new members of the garrison who had officially joined the army had finished asking questions, no one was surprised. Using the power of brainwaves to explore the existence of this woman, Jia Yan slowly took small steps and felt the graceful appearance leave. Jia Yan was thoughtful. This female existence is naturally the Lord Sheriff, but her behavior at the moment is very close to that of a woman from the Earth family. It seems that she used to be from the Biochemical Empire family, although she has changed her appearance now. Type, that kind of temperament can still be revealed. Or maybe starting a family with her wouldn't be a bad idea. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 715. Welcome to Renren Novel. Please remember the address of this website. Read on your mobile phone so that you can read the latest chapter of the novel Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky at any time. I'll go. What am I thinking about? Jia Yan quickly shook off his thoughts. You hate others when they are monsters. You don't know how to become a beauty on earth, but you are willing to be together? Jia Yan doesn't think he is such a judge of appearance. Jia Yan felt that he had to stand firm. But after all, she gave birth to a child for me. That's not right. Can this child be mine? It's no longer possible. My head hurts. Jia Yan reluctantly retracted these thoughts. In short, this woman was in his home. Jia Yan did not dare to go out for the time being because he did not know how to face this woman and the Jia family at this moment. In short, let's hang out at Jia's house and see what's going on at home. Almost all the new members of the defense team have a little respect for Jia Yan, the disguised Moke, because they know that this is a truly powerful fighter who may have been raised by the high-ranking officials of the Earth fleet. On Earth, brainwave power benefited from Jia Yan's vigorous promotion back then, and it has been greatly developed now. But there is only one thing that has not kept up, and that is the combat method of brainwave power. People on Earth have not yet mastered it. Originally, the monsters and strong men brought by Jia Yan can teach, but after all, the people on Earth are not of the same race as them, and if they want them to conduct research, they will spend a lot of time on these strong men. You must know that each of them is extremely precious resources and power, each task is extremely heavy, so even now, they still have not taken the time to study how to improve the overall fighting style of the people on Earth. This led to Jia Yan just using ordinary Earthling fighting methods, which directly shocked the members here to the point of worshipping them. The 40 new guard members were quickly assigned their respective tasks, and Jia Yan was personally led by the strong man to the deep palace compound of the Jia family. Most people would not be able to see it here, but Jia Yan understood very well that there were sentries almost everywhere, and there were powerful Earth warriors guarding them in secret. Because a battleship had hijacked the eldest Princess Jialin before, the ground-to-air artillery fire here was also very powerful. Jia Yan could almost tell that even ordinary heaven-level creatures would find it difficult to get anything good here. Go. Of course, the most powerful defensive force in Jia's family is the daughter-in-law he seems to have picked up, the then Sheriff of Grey and Yellow Star. She has now reached the peak of heaven level and can be said to have the highest level of combat power on Earth. When you see Princess Jiakai, be sure not to joke with her. Although she likes to joke with her classmates, she won't be happy at all when we make jokes. Well, you will know when you see her in person. The strong man, as if thinking of something, he shook his head with an ugly expression. It seems that my little niece has turned into a rebellious little girl. Haha, big man, who did you bring here again today? Just as the strong man led Jia Yan forward, a man who looked extremely smart suddenly emerged from a corner of the Jia family's large, forest-like garden. 11 or 12-year-old girl. She has a face as delicate as pink makeup and jade, and the clothes she is wearing at the moment are extremely luxurious, but she doesn't care at all and pulls them to the ground, making them extremely dirty. She suddenly appeared in front of the strong man, scaring him so much that he almost drew his gun and shot. Fortunately, he saw the clever figure in front of him clearly and stopped quickly. Princess Jiaqi, why are you hiding in the woods in your clothes again? Mrs. Jialin will talk about you again later. This strong man seemed to be very familiar with Jiaqi. Although his words were respectful at the moment, there was also a hint of blame. However, his authority was not in the eyes of the little princess at all. Jiaqi just nodded angrily, and then jumped up to Jia Yan, the man wearing a mask. Who are you? I haven't seen you before. Are you new here? She patted the soil in her hands and said in a haughty tone. Is this still my adorable little niece? She turned into a proud little princess. Jia Yan sighed. Jiaqi, did your parents teach you to be polite when talking to older people? Look at your tone. Suddenly, he scolded. Jiakai was stunned. The strong man on the side was also stunned. What is this? Just a member of the guard team who just arrived dared to scold Princess Jiakai with just one sentence he just met. Even though his status may be a bit special, isn't this too bold? The strong man's eyes almost popped out of his head. Princess Jiaqi was the eldest third generation in the Jia family. She had always been loved by the elders before, but you must know that she had hardly been scolded by anyone since she was a child. This subordinate was such a release in the first sentence. God knows what kind of reaction Jiaqi would have. You dare to scold me? Do you know who I am? Jiaqi was really angry, and her mouth bulged at this moment. You must know that even in school, she is almost loved by everyone without revealing her identity, but now at that time, this man wearing a mask actually dared to scold her. Who was he? I didn't scold you, I just taught you a lesson. Why, you can't let others discipline you. Don't tell me that your parents taught you these contemptuous attitudes. Jia Yan lowered his head and looked at Jiaqi condescendingly. In his opinion, this is just his junior. He didn't sneak into the Jia family just to be a real guard of the Jia family. Now that he sees Jiaqi's bad attitude, he will naturally take care of it. Jiaqi saw that she couldn't reason with the masked man in front of her. At this moment, her little face suddenly turned cold, and her brainwave power suddenly activated. Earth-level high-level brainwave power, and combat skills personally taught by alien masters. Jiaqi looked at the new guard member angrily. Of course she would not show such an attitude in front of her family, because she had already figured it out in Jia's family. As long as she pretended to be cute and sensible in front of her family, no one dares to mention any small bad things done behind his back to the adults in the family. She even vaguely knew that her brainwave power, which she had been using since she was a child, was considered very powerful among all the people on Earth. At least she had never met a member of the defense team who could beat her. The loudmouthed person in front of me must have been knocked down by his own brainwave power just like those people before. But as soon as this brainwave power hit the man Jia Yan, the Princess Jia Qi was astonished, and she directly let out a pop sound. It disappeared into nothingness, seemingly unable to create even a ripple. How can it be? Jia Kai was stunned for a moment. Want to hit someone again? It seems like your mother will have to discipline you. Jia Yan shook his head helplessly. It's not that his uncle doesn't care about the younger generation, but that Jia Qi's behavior at this time is a bit second generation. I feel it, if she doesn't take good care of her at this age, the whole earth may be treated as a toy by her in the future and destroyed. Bound by a brainwave power, Jia Qi felt a terrifying force transmitted to her body, and her face changed drastically. Jia Yan directly used his brainwave power to control the bad boy out of thin air, and then headed towards the location of his sister Jia Lin, which he sensed with his brainwave power. Let me go, or I'll ask my aunt to beat you. My aunt is very powerful. Jia Qi felt herself flying up out of thin air and had to shout loudly. But what makes Jia Qi a little shocked is that the aunt who used to appear whenever there was any disturbance in the Jia family, did not appear at all at this time, as if she was not aware of anything strange in this place. Looking at the masked moke, he actually looked like an elder. He controlled the little princess with an unimaginable brainwave power and headed towards Mrs. Jia Lin's residence. The strong man who had been stunned for a long time, the captain of the Han garrison, seemed to have come out of his trance at this moment. This, what kind of guy did I find? No, little Princess Kikai is about to cry. I have to ask him to put her down. The strong man ran up quickly. Several secret guards in the dark were also surprised when they saw this scene. However, they saw that the masked person did not seem to hurt Jia Qi, and they resisted the intention of taking action, because they understood that in Jia's house, it is almost impossible to harm the Jia family. The reason is precisely that big lady, JavaScript. The eldest lady did not take action, and they had no need to take action. But what they didn't know was that the eldest lady couldn't even detect the situation here. Find the book garden. Jia Lin has been a little distracted these days, and she doesn't know what's wrong with her. Maybe she's tired from taking care of her 1-year-old daughter? Or is it because there are rumors that aliens are coming to attack the Earth? Jia Lin didn't know what the reason was, but she didn't think so much. There were so many more powerful beings on the Earth than her. For her, all she had to do was take good care of her family. It's just that her husband serves in the Earth fleet, and he doesn't know if he will go to the battlefield in the future. And Kikai, I don't know what's going on recently. I've heard my subordinates secretly tell me several times that she has been very wild recently. Is puberty about to happen? It seems that she needs to be disciplined in the future, and she won't be allowed to kneel down in front of her grandma and grandpa. She doesn't know who she looks like, so while Jia Lin seemed to have forgotten how wild she was back then, and now she didn't even know who her daughter looked like. Just when the little baby girl she was holding in her arms opened her eyes wide and kept giggling with her mother. With a click, the door of the house was pushed open. Although the Jia family is just a home, it actually occupies a huge area. The house where Jia Lin and her daughter live is only a small part of this vast area. At this time, no servants will come to disturb them and push the door open. Probably only the eldest daughter Jia Qi. Jia Lin still loved her eldest daughter because she had suffered in the army of metal monsters before, so even though she had thought about disciplining her daughter just now, she immediately forgot about it. Kikai, you went to play in the garden again, huh? Jia Lin turned around and was about to say something to her daughter with a smile, but suddenly paused. It turned out that her daughter seemed to be tied up in the air by an invisible force at the moment. Next to her, there was a man wearing a mask with a vaguely familiar figure. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 716. Who are you? Jia Lin was about to scream, but after seeing the tall and strong man next to the masked man, she still endured it. The other party came with the deputy captain of the garrison, so he must not be a bad person. Jia Lin couldn't identify this familiar figure, but Jia Yan could clearly recognize her sister's face. Compared to 10 years ago, she has matured. Jia Yan looked at his sister's appearance. Although he could see it with his brainwave power before, it was not as intuitive as seeing it with his own eyes. Time has not left any deep traces on Jia Lin's face. Presumably the rapid development of medical technology on the Earth at this moment is also a huge help. You must know that the theoretical lifespan on the Earth at this moment has reached 200 years, although most people cannot. If they really live for such a long time, the Jia family must not belong to the majority of people, so my sister, who is over 30 years old, is still considered a teenager. Haha, is the little baby girl in her arms my niece again? How cute! Jia Yan saw the little baby girl in Jia Lin's arms and suddenly wanted to hug him. You must know that he used to be a mosquito. Even though I had seen Jia Qi when she was a child, I couldn't hold her. However, his current identity is just a defensive player, and he needs to pay attention to his identity at this moment. Madam, the eldest lady is too naughty. I think Madam needs to take good care of her. Jia Yan did not salute, nor did he have much respect in his tone. He just spoke to Jia Lin equally. The eyes of the strong man next to him almost popped out of his head. Most people would unconsciously feel respectful after knowing that the person in front of them is Mrs. Jia, who is well known to everyone on Earth, but this guy is actually a little like this. It doesn't mean anything. Of course, even now, people on Earth still don't understand why the Jia family gained such a distinguished status. Only a few people still remember that the giant Mosquito clan was very close to the Jia family back then. Jia Lin has experienced a lot in these years, and now she is slightly surprised to see a man from the garrison talking to her in an equal tone, but it is obvious that she is no longer the impulsive little girl she used to be. Is Kikai causing trouble again? Well, I will discipline him well. Thank you for bringing her here. Jia Lin saw her daughter being caught in front of her by a stranger. As a mother, she was always a little uncomfortable. But at this moment, she thought of Zhen Yan, the powerful woman who appeared a few years ago and said she was her aunt. This eldest daughter of mine is probably one of the strongest people on Earth. But this man actually restrained his daughter easily. She immediately understood that this man must be very well connected even though he was dressed as a garrison. So her words are not so condescending. It seems that Xiaolin has really grown up a lot in these years, and she has become a bit like a mother. Jia Yan smiled immediately when he saw his sister's expression, but no one could see the smiling face under the mask. Okay, then I will leave the eldest lady to Madam. I hope you will discipline her well and don't let her out to cause trouble, Jia Yan said calmly. He put the screaming Jia Qi down on the ground. The little girl came down and rushed in front of Jia Yan. She raised her thin feet and wanted to give Jia Yan a hard kick. But when Jia Lin saw this scene, she shouted, Jia Qi, do you still dare to hit someone in front of your mother? Don't you listen to your mother anymore? Humph. The little girl stopped kicking her little foot halfway. She was obviously stronger than her mother, but she seemed to be really afraid of her mother. Haha, thank you. This child really needs discipline. Recently Jia Lin apologized to Jia Yan. Okay, then I'm going out. Jia Yan nodded, and then left the house where his sister's family lived together with the strong man. As soon as she left the house, she heard Jia Lin's voice coldly lecturing her daughter from behind. Jia Yan immediately smiled sincerely. It seemed that this sister still had some dignity in front of Xiao Kikai. And the brawny deputy captain saw Jia Yan's actions all the way, and he had helped Jia Yan before. You must know that although everyone in the Jia family is an extremely gentle person, there is nothing gentle behind them. There were also some servants who showed bad attitudes, but when they were later held accountable by certain parties, It was quite miserable. This being was not afraid at all. I asked you, why are you so brave? Aren't you even afraid of the power behind the Geo family? The strong man asked with some surprise. What are you afraid of? Will the Geo family still report me because I did the right thing? Jia Yan shook his head. But that's the Geo family. The strong man almost felt that this MOK had a different brain than ordinary people. In this era, let alone not being afraid of the Geo family, even if the word Geo family is mentioned sometimes, it would cause an unreasonable disaster, because Jia Qi had been kidnapped 10 years ago, so everyone was very nervous about her, but this one was good, and she would mess with anyone who was a powder keg. Okay, the Geo family is nothing that cannot be provoked. Jia Lin's children are not well disciplined. Why don't I remind them? Tell me about the things I will be responsible for in the future. Jia Yan did not interrupt the other party angrily. I just said that you can be Princess Jiakai's secret bodyguard. But look at your relationship with her, can you still do it? If not, I will change your position for you. What to change? It's settled. Jia Yan waved his hand indifferently. Let me go. You are the leader and I am the leader. If you say you don't want to change, then you won't change. The strong man was speechless by Jia Yan's words, but thinking of the opponent's strength and the possible terrifying background behind the military, he felt that he couldn't do it. Even the Geo family didn't seem to be afraid of someone. As a deputy captain of the garrison, why couldn't he tolerate it anymore? Okay then, let me take you to meet the other bodyguard members in charge of Princess Jiakai, the strong man said. Jia Yan said non-committally, as if he didn't even have the slightest respect for this boss. The strong man felt a little tearful in his heart. If it were a normal newcomer, his legs would tremble when he saw him, but this one was better. It seemed that he was just a leader. But his background is terrible, and his personal strength is also extremely strong. No matter whether he is playing with power or personal strength, he seems to be unable to defeat the opponent. Thinking of this strong man really feels like crying without tears. But his mission was coming soon. As soon as he brought the person to his companions, he decided to leave immediately and ignore this person at all. It seemed that he was strong enough to protect the little princess, not to mention that he was not afraid of the other party. Even the Geo family, if a princess wants to discipline someone, what else should she be afraid of? I hope this MOK won't use any tricks next. The strong man thought. But what he didn't expect was that whatever he was afraid of, the first thing he said after seeing the team of more than 20 bodyguards who were dedicated to protecting the little princess was, "Okay, I think that little guy doesn't need so many people to protect him. You all should leave. I can do it alone." Jia Yan said this directly after listening to the strong man's introduction. I knew it. The strong man almost cried in his heart. He guessed that the other party would not obey the order so easily, but he did not expect that his first sentence would be so subversive. There is a bodyguard team of more than 20 people, and he is a newcomer who just came here. He said that he would not let the seniors do it. God, are you the leader or am I the leader? The strong man was almost shaking with anger for a moment. What? I have protected Princess Kikai for 5 years, why don't you let us do it? A member of the bodyguard team who looked about 30 years old jumped out. The most glorious thing he had ever done in his life was to become a member of the legendary Geo family's guard team. He walked out and mysteriously said that there are countless beautiful women who are the personal guards of important members of the Geo family. How could he let go of this job at this moment? Yes, who are you? You look more impressive than our head. Aren't you just a newcomer? Each member of the escort team was a little unconvinced by Jia Yan's words at this moment, and some of them were about to attack. Of course, it's just a trial. Naturally, the strength of each of these guards is not weak. Most of them have intermediate strength or above, and the special two have the strength of late Earth level. You must know that the strength of such a team is absolutely terrifying. With modern equipment, even if they fight head-on with an army of 1,000 people, they will not necessarily lose. Don't do anything. The strong man knew something was going to be bad at the first glance, but before he could finish his words, several strong men over there had already taken action. Puff. He covered his cheek helplessly and saw 1, 2, 3, 4. The members of the bodyguard team flew out with screams. Even a prefecture-level late-stage existence who was known to be only slightly worse than him found Shiyuan without any surprise. And the masked man named Mok was just standing there with an indifferent expression. He didn't even use his hands. Just the impact of the brainwave power blew away all the surrounding beings. Now this strong man understood that the gap between himself and this strong man was so huge that it could not be described in words. However, he felt that the other party still seemed to be using energy around the mid-earth level, but it was about the control of energy. He didn't know how far away they could get away from something like them. The strong man almost shouted, "This guy is not like us. Are they really practicing the same thing? They are completely different, okay." To be honest, he really guessed it. What Jia Yan cultivates is much higher than their level. Not to mention that people on Earth don't have a unified method of formal cultivation. Even if it is created, it will be different from Jia Yan's talent and cultivation. Comparing the methods, the result would be the same. Even if Jia Yan didn't use Earth-level energy, even if he didn't use energy, they wouldn't be able to touch any of Jia Yan's hair. There is no way, the strength is really too far behind. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 717. Welcome to Renren Novel. Please remember the address of this website. Read on your mobile phone so that you can read the latest chapter of the novel Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky at any time. Of course, Jia Yan himself felt a little embarrassed that a Starry Sky high-level being who could defeat even the second-level powerhouses bullied more than 20 heaven-level beings, so he decided to fight quickly at this moment, which took almost a breath. And completely knocked down these 20 or so people. Looking at the subordinates who kept humming in front of him, the strong man felt at this moment that his so-called strongest subordinates on Earth were extremely weak. Okay, from today on, I will be the only one protecting Jia. Jia Yan said calmly, looking at the figures lying on the ground. Why, a member of the bodyguard team who had just been knocked down had not yet come to his senses and dared to shout loudly at Jia Yan. Why, Jia Yan looked at this existence, and then said slowly and without changing his expression, "With my fists, when will you be able to defeat me? Come and get back your bodyguard qualifications." He put his hands behind his back and walked slowly into the woods. Then he seemed to remember something and turned back to the frightened strong man standing aside and asked, "Oh, I forgot to ask for permission, Captain, can I arrange it this way? I'll go, can I say no?" The strong man saw all his subordinates on the ground looking at him eagerly. He didn't want to say yes, but he didn't dare. "Haha, okay. From now on you will be the only one to protect Princess Kikai. I will arrange positions for the others." After saying this, he almost covered his face and ran away. Jia Yan also smiled faintly, then disappeared into the woods. After that, except for using the communicator of the Jia family's internal staff to contact him, no one could see him again that day. Even the strong man, who activated all the detection equipment of the entire garrison, "Actually I can't see him." A piece of news was circulating among the Jia family guards and the servants a day later, that is, there was a person with a very powerful background in the Jia family guards, and his own strength was beyond awesome. Even the members of the defense team who are known as the strongest people on Earth changed their expressions instantly when they heard this person's name. The name of this existence is called Mok. Although few people have seen his true face, everyone knows that on the first day he came, not only was he not afraid of the top brass of the defense team, but even the little overlord Princess Kikai in the Jia family's house was severely beaten by him. After some repairs, this being even seemed to have had a conversation with Mrs. Jiolin, teaching the other party how to discipline her children well. If this is not awesome, who else is awesome? It's so awesome, isn't it? And they also heard that Mrs. Jiolin seemed to have asked the Earth Alliance headquarters about this matter, and then there was no way to fire this person. It seemed because his identity was really unusual. A member of the defense team who even gave face to the real Geo family. The background of this must be too big. The entire Geo family immediately regarded this MOK who only knew the name but no one had ever seen his true face as the Geo family. Apart from the Geo family, the other person should not be provoked. The presence. Jia Yan didn't know how Karui supported his identity, but he understood that without his approval, he would not dare to tell others about his true identity, not to mention that Karui probably wouldn't have thought of this. This MOK is his assassin, right? Haha, it seems that little Kikai is still angry with my uncle. Little kid. Jia Yan didn't deliberately hide his figure. He just didn't want others to see him, so it would be impossible for others to see his shadow. At least it would take heaven-level strength to discover his figure, and if he deliberately did it, if so, not to mention the heaven level, even some weak starry sky level would be unlikely to find him. Early in the morning, Jia Yan stood by the gate of the Geo family manor. His lazy figure was in complete contrast to the upright appearance of the garrison members in the same uniform on the side. But at this moment, every member of the defense team looked at him in confusion. Those who had seen Jia Yan's strength looked pale, while those who had not seen it looked like they were ready to move, as if they wanted to verify whether he was the one in the rumors. So terrible. But Jia Yan has no interest in taking action against them. At this moment, he saw the bulletproof vehicle specially designed for the Geo family appearing in front of him, and the passenger inside was his niece Jiaqi. When the little princess saw Jia Yan waiting on the roadside, she pouted and seemed to not want to go with the man who disrespected her yesterday. However, the driver still stopped the car next to Jia Yan. Jiaqi used the power of her brain waves to pull on the handlebar, not wanting to open the door for Jia Yan who was about to get in the car. However, she found that a force that far exceeded hers gently pushed away her strength, and then the door opened by itself. Jiaqi, good morning. Jia Yan climbed into the car. Huh. I'm not good at all. Jiaqi huffed and folded her arms. Haha, don't be angry. If you weren't a bad person, I wouldn't have scolded you yesterday, right? As long as you were obedient, I didn't even have time to like you, so why would I scold you? Jia Yan smiled, then reached out to touch Jia Yanqi's little head. There was no reaction from Jiaqi. When the driver saw this scene, the whole car swayed and he almost didn't crash the car into the wall. He stared at the scene behind him with wide eyes and his mouth opened wide. What was going on? As the driver of the Geo family, he is actually a very powerful being, and is even one of the top experts behind several top defense team masters. However, he is extremely respectful to the Geo family, because this is what he once did. The assassin who has saved the Earth several times is considered a family member. He never thought that one day a member of the Geo family would do such a thing to Princess Kikai of the Geo family. I am afraid that in his dreams, he regarded the little princess of the Geo family as a superior. And it seemed that besides being a little angry, the little princess looked helpless against him. How can it be? The former little princess Kikai had already fought, and she was even more powerful than his driver. I'm warning you, don't touch my head. Jiaqi was really disgusted with Jia Yan's actions. She pushed the arm of the masked man in front of her with her hand, but she couldn't avoid it at all. Children don't understand. Adults touch your head to encourage you, do you understand? I just encourage you to be good. Otherwise, if you learn badly, wouldn't your parents be very sad? Understand where is Jia Yan's strength? She was able to break away. At this moment, she caressed Jiaqi's little head gently as if she was treating her younger generation. Bad guy. I don't want you to be stubborn. Who are you? As expected, Jiaqi started to make a fuss, punching and kicking him. I told you, you must respect adults and don't use violence casually. Have you forgotten that you have been captured by others before? Don't think that you are very powerful. There are too many people stronger than you in this universe. If you don't learn to behave, you might have similar experiences in the future, so don't make trouble. After Jia Yan said something, Jia Qi saw that he was sincere and sincere. She was not really a bad child, she was just spoiled. He also stopped at this moment. And regarding Jia Yan's words about being taken away by bad guys, although she was very young at that time, because her brainwave power was developed early, she seems to still have a faint memory, especially about her uncle who came to rescue her. Deep impression. But how come the Uncle Ju in my memory looks like a huge black shadow? Jia Kai asked her mother, but did not get a positive response. In short, she just understood that her Uncle Ju was the greatest person on the entire earth, and the real driving force behind the Jia family's attainment of this status today. If I become a bad boy, my uncle will also be unhappy, right? Thinking of this, Jia Kai became quiet. However, why do I feel that the bad guy in front of me seems to be a bit familiar to him? No, he doesn't look like Uncle Ju at all. My Uncle Ju is the most powerful and greatest being in the world. How could he be such a bad guy who wants to care about me in everything? Jia Qi was far away. Jia Yan, who did not agree with this moment, couldn't help but frown, rejecting the idea that Jia Yan looked like his Uncle Ju. Jia Yan naturally didn't know that she had thought so much, and he was very happy that she could slowly get used to his existence, so after smiling lightly, he stayed with his niece and chatted with her about some topics. The driver driving in front became more and more shocked as he watched. Is this guy called a bodyguard? How does it feel to be an elder at all? And there are quite a lot of things to do. What's even more amazing is that little Princess Kikai, who used to make trouble every day and was always in trouble in the car, is actually doing this now. Behave now. I'll go. Little Princess Kikai has become good. The driver looked at Jia Qi, who started chatting with Jia Yan, and thought he was dazzled. While chatting with Jia Qi, Jia Yan also understood how this niece was really bad. She was just a little lonely. Even though she has such a big family, her mother gave birth to a younger sister, and her father went to work in some Earth fleet, and her grandparents only took care of her younger sister and another brother. She thought she was abandoned, although everyone was still the same. I love her, but the feeling of loss is unavoidable, and because there is no one to discipline her, it becomes like this. Oh, even my family has this kind of thing. It seems that after the identity is revealed in the future, the family will have to pay more attention to it. Jia Yan let out a long sigh. We're here, go to school. Remember, don't make trouble in school, you know. When the car shook, Jia Yan understood that they had arrived at the school where Jia Qi had hidden her identity. I'm still a good student in school. Besides, you don't have to worry about what I do in school, Jia Qi snorted coldly. Then she quietly got out of the car in a remote area where the car was parked. Jia Yan saw through the power of brainwaves that as soon as the little niece came out of the alley, he met a familiar girl. The two smiled happily and held hands. Come together. Seeing this scene, Jia Yan nodded. This, Mo. When the driver saw Jia Yan in the car, he wanted to say hello to this legendary Superman of the defense team, but his expression changed drastically the next moment. It turned out that while he was looking at the other person and wanted to speak, this existence actually appeared in front of him and disappeared into the air. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 718. Holy shit, he's so strong. Really, I had only heard of this terrible driver, and my eyes really widened at this moment. But no matter how he looked, Jia Yan was nowhere to be seen. Of course he couldn't find it. At this moment, Jia Yan had already reached the roof of a house in the distance. Jia Yan leaned against the water tower of the house and looked at the sky. The clouds in the sky are floating, and sometimes Jia Yan wants to float into the sky easily, and become a scenery with the clouds, attracting the attention of thousands of people. But he couldn't do this. Some things had to be done, and some changes had to be accepted. Just like the Earth today, even if Jia Yan understands that she is his hometown in his memory, in fact, after the ravages of metal monsters and his own great development and changes 10 years ago, there is such a thing. During the 10-year gap, the entire Earth was no longer the Earth he was familiar with. There are some things that Jia Yan doesn't want to admit, but he has to admit that he has changed his hometown, and this change can never be reversed. Alas, Jia Yan was helpless about some things. Time passed like this. Jia Yan protected Jia Qi alone. Some people were always very worried about this situation, and they were constantly confirming through the communicator. Jia Yan also took the trouble to report the current intelligence. After all, these people were only good to his niece. Jia Yan doesn't like the status of the Jia family very much, nor does he hate it. He just thinks it's too much, but he has no other ideas. After all, it's not a bad thing for his family to become prominent, and his parents can also get better medical care and so on. Ding zing zing. Just when Jia Yan was looking at the scenery in the sky, almost completely focusing on his true body in cultivation, the school bell interrupted his thoughts. Jia Yan raised his head lazily, looked at the scene over there, and then smiled slightly. It seems that there are really some little mice in Jia's family. I protected little Kikai one by one, and soon there were forces secretly moving. It turned out that outside the school, a car was parked at the school gate. At this moment, there were several heavily armed people in the car. They all looked at the school gate nervously, as if they would come forward to arrest the target person when they saw them. Jia Yan just looked at the situation there indifferently. Regarding these people at this moment, Jia Yan had no idea that they could harm his niece. It's not his own strength, but the school's own combat effectiveness, which is not weak. At a certain moment, Jia Qi walked out of the school with several classmates from elementary school. Just like usual, she pretended to be an ordinary girl, and her brainwave power was also sealed, so she was not much different from ordinary girls. But just as the school gate was approaching, the car suddenly opened. The 7 heavily armed combatants inside rushed out directly. The whole scene was suddenly filled with screams and cries, and some surprised students fainted. Those heavily armed beings didn't seem to mind the chaos at all. For them, the more chaotic the scene, the more beneficial it was to them. At this moment, these people were obviously trained to rush directly to Jiakai and the girls. In front of him, one of them was about to raise his gun and point it at Jiachi. Puff! The firearm in his hand immediately became distorted. Seeing this scene, Jiakai used her brainwave power. Da-da-da. However, a heavily armed man on the other side shot at the classmates next to Jiachi. And his bullet actually turned around in the air and hit the ground. When Xiaokakai saw this scene, she knew who was taking action. Bad guy, come out quickly, or I'll tell mom not to pay you your salary. She picked up 2 classmates who had been frightened for a long time and ran quickly to the side of the road. Those heavily armed people also understood that there must be a master secretly at this moment. Maybe it was the existence that the informant said they must pay attention to. However, these people all think that no matter what the other person says, he is just a person. At this moment, they do not believe that there are Earth-level beings among them who will be directly knocked down by this person. Jiakai ran quickly, holding the arms of 2 classmates. Xiaoqi, what's going on? The 2 of them still don't understand what happened. They were pointed at a gun before, and one gangster even fired. At this moment, the 2 girls were terrified. Don't worry, there is a very powerful guy who will definitely protect us, Jiachi panted. Jiachi, let me ask you what's going on. Why are there so many bad people? A girl suddenly shook off Jiaqi's hand and looked at Jiaqi, as if she didn't dare to approach her. Jiaqi was startled, then shook her head. Xiaowan, didn't you once think that I was from the Jiao family? Let me tell you, I am really from the Jiao family, and I am the eldest princess of the Jiao family, Jiaqi. These bad guys should be here to catch me. You are Princess Jiaqi? Really? The little girl who shook off Jiaqi asked in disbelief. Of course it's true. Don't you believe it? But I'm still me. We were good friends before and we will always be good friends in the future. Jiaqi approached the girl. Haha, Princess Jiaqi, I can't reach that high, but my boss will be happy to be your friend. Let's go. The girl's expression suddenly changed and she directly grabbed Jiaqi's arm. Jiaqi was really frightened now. She looked at the girl classmate on the other side, who seemed to be seeing the scene for the first time, and her expression was ugly. So this classmate who has been playing for a long time is actually an undercover agent sent by another force? Jiaqi's arm was pulled by the other party and she wanted to break free, but she found that her brainwave power could not be used at all. Jiaqi, are you surprised? This is a brainwave power limiter invented by our organization. You can't break free. Just follow me. Under the influence of this device, it's impossible for your powerful bodyguard to show his combat effectiveness. The girl pulled hard on a chain in her hand. Jiaqi's strength was actually much weaker than hers, and she was pulled away directly. The girl on the other side was so shocked by the scene in front of her that she could only shed tears. She was really just an ordinary child. When she saw her two friends who had been playing together, one turned into the aloof princess of the Jiao family, and the other it was the bad guy who wanted to catch the little princess, but she couldn't react. Oh, I also forgot about you, Wang Yushan, my good friend, let's meet again in the next life. Xiaowan looked at the girl on the side and showed a cruel smile. Then she took out a pistol from her skull bag, pointed it at the girl, and pulled the trigger. Bump. Jiaqi looked at the gun body at this moment, her mouth opened, even the word no seemed to be extremely slow, and she had no time to say it. In this moment of despair, she forgot everything. Her father was unreliable and her mother had no fighting ability. Even the great heaven-level warriors on the earth who were extremely powerful and respected her when they saw her could not compare to a person in the world. A name from her childhood memories. She had grown up hearing this name, although many people said that this being was a monster, tall and big, and looked like the mosquito she hated most. But she has always admired this being the most. And this being is what she has always called Uncle, Jiaqi shouted loudly. At this moment, the bullets fired flew into the air, shooting at another of Jackie's favorite friends. Jiaqi was desperate. She was an Earth-level expert. Although she was restricted from activating her brainwave power, her reaction was still able to see a little bit of the bullet trajectory. Looking at the bullet fired at the moment, there was a trace of the stream of light shoots towards his best friend. But at this moment, a figure in black clothes, faster than bullets, more terrifying than bullets, and more powerful than any human on Earth, flew out. Puff. The bullet was about to hit the center of the head of Jiaqi's good friend, but it was caught directly in the hand of the figure. The smell of gunpowder still filled the air, and the heaven and earth were filled with tremors from the bullets fired. But the arrival of this being at this moment directly suppressed the sound of the bullets. He turned his back to Jiaqi, gently released his palm, and a bullet that had turned into a flat shape fell directly to the ground. Dings in. The sound is very crisp. Who are you? The girl holding Jiaqi was obviously shocked. In her opinion, this existence at this moment seemed to appear suddenly, because her strength was not as good as that of the Earth level, and she was just a trained person. A girl with more power than ordinary people. Uncle chirped. Uncle chirped. Jiaqi still had tears in her eyes at this moment. She couldn't distinguish the appearance of the person. She could only feel the arrival of this person with this powerful back figure and the sense of security that seemed so small and small in her memory. The character seems to be really his uncle. She murmured softly, and the back figure in front of her and the memories of her youth seemed to overlap. He must be my uncle. Yes, Uncle Ju must have come to save Kikai again. Uncle Ju will come to save Kikai every time. This is Kikai's favorite uncle since she was little. When she was little, this uncle would pick her up again and again. Of course I misremembered, she was just thrown high by the power of brain waves. When I was a child, I was taught to use the power of brain waves by this uncle. I remember wrongly she only learned to use brainwave power by picking up milk cartons on the ground. Jia-Chi's hazy childhood memories seemed to have completely recovered at this moment. She remembered that a young and handsome man hugged her again and again, treated her well every time, and was even powerful enough to physically enter the universe and save her from the demons from the universe. In the end, the black monster that everyone was talking about was stolen and replaced with black clothes in her memory, and this black clothes completely overlapped with the back of the black clothes in front of her. This is her favorite and most admired uncle. Uncle, the little girl yelled, tears and runny nose flowing out from her eyes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Buletin Yu. Chapter 719. If the voice shadow on his back knew Jia-Chi's inner thoughts at this moment, he would probably be stunned. Isn't this little guy's ability to beautify things too much in his heart? But when he heard the voice of Uncle chirping, the figure in black seemed to tremble suddenly. This visitor is of course Jia Yan. He didn't change any clothes at this moment, but from a child's perspective, it is estimated that others in every situation will be different. At this moment, she only remembered her Uncle Ju, and completely forgot that she also had an extremely powerful bodyguard. Will come to protect myself. But at this moment, when she called Jia Yan uncle, she was really right. I originally wanted this little girl to suffer a little more before I could save her, but I couldn't resist this uncle's chirping. Jia Yan shook his head helplessly, and then step by step, with a bright look in his eyes, he walked towards the Xiaowan who was holding the chain in her hand. At this moment, she seemed to have regained a little bit of the mentality of a child, and was so scared that she was about to cry. At this moment, the little girl who wanted to arrest Jia-Chi didn't want to move, but when she tried hard, she found that her body couldn't move at all for some unknown reason. It shouldn't be. Doesn't the organization say that under the influence of this chain, no one can release the power of brain waves under its influence? What happened? No, she looked at the owner of the black-clothed figure slowly approaching in shock, almost crying. Jia Yan had actually known about the upcoming attack for a long time. He just wanted to see what these people would do. Even this girl had been discovered by him a long time ago. With the brainwave power of a starry sky-level being, it is almost impossible to hide anything from him within 1,000 kilometers. He even read the girl's diary through the power of brain waves, which told how she was adopted and how she went through a series of foster care and became an undercover agent in the organization. But one thing about her is that she has never killed anyone, so Jia Yan does not intend to kill her because he wants to maintain a positive outlook as an elder as much as possible in front of his niece. Death can be avoided, but living crime cannot be escaped, Jia Yan said lightly, and then the girl closed her eyes and fainted. And look at the gangsters who were attacking passers-by with guns. At this moment, they fell to the ground one by one like this girl. Of course, these people's hands were not so clean. For Jia Yanur, just throwing them away just knocked him out, which is very polite. The other girl over there had fainted earlier because she was pointed at by a pistol and shot directly. In this quiet alley, only Jia Yan and his little niece were left awake at the moment. Jia Yan was about to turn around, but unexpectedly, a little girl rushed over from behind and hugged his arm. Of course Jia Yan had plenty of time to leave, but knowing who it was, there was no way he would do so. The little girl cried loudly and shouted, "Uncle, you are running away again, aren't you? Kikai won't let you disappear again." Well, Jia Yan was a little shocked. How could he discover his true identity? It's impossible. With this body of his, no one except Nikari knows it's him. Could it be that Kari's lax mouth exposed his identity? It seems that I will have to deal with him well in the future. How dare you betray yourself? Jia Yan shook his head speechlessly, stretched out his palm and touched his niece's little head. But this familiar practice made the little girl suspicious. She raised her tearful eyes and looked at Jia Yan's face. "Why is it you?" Jia Qi shook off Jia Yan's arm, as if she had seen a ghost. "Why isn't it me?" Jia Yan frowned, a little strange. Did Xiao Kaiokio not know his identity? That's right, Jia Yan figured it out in an instant. His brainwave power had always controlled the entire Jin family, and it was almost impossible for him to know any information. "How could you be my uncle?" "It's impossible," little Kikai almost jumped up. Jia Yan was really curious about how this child thought of him, but he didn't have many other ideas at the moment. Now that she knew it, she could just solve the mystery. "Why can't I be your Uncle Ju?" "No, it's not Uncle Ju but Uncle. He's so old and his pronunciation is not standard yet," Jia Yan laughed angrily. "No, my Uncle Ju is not you." Jia Qi raised her eyebrows, stamped her feet on the ground, and pouted her cute little mouth, looking like she didn't believe it at all. However, she slowly recalled the experience of the appearance of this MOK. As soon as he appeared, he had to take care of everything about himself, as well as her rude attitude towards adults. It seemed that this attitude was basically his own. If you look at it through the eyes of relatives and elders, it really makes sense. There is a more important point, that is, Jia Qi feels that the scene where she was rescued just now is really familiar. Although little Kikai was too young to remember more, this sense of security is really very familiar. "Could it be that, you are really my uncle?" Xiao Jiakai tilted her head and asked uncertainly. Jia Yan touched his nose, then nodded, and finally formally acknowledged his identity in front of a member of the Jia family. "Yes, Xiao Kikai, I am your uncle, Jia Yan," he said. "Are you really Kikai's favorite uncle when she was little?" "My parents don't care about me anymore, uncle." Jia Yan didn't expect that. Just after he finished speaking, Xiao Kikai didn't even refute, but directly recognized his identity and jumped on him. Perhaps deep down in her heart, this little niece has long considered him to be her relative. Otherwise, how could she explain that she recognized him so easily? Little Jackie burst into tears. "Not for a while." In the sky, Jia Yan gently hugged his niece. The little girl leaned her head lazily on Jia Yan's shoulder, with tears on her tender face. At this time, she looked at the scenery below the sky with some joy and curiosity. Jia Yan's actions also confirmed his identity in the little girl's heart. In the entire Earth, apart from those heaven-level alien monsters, there are only a few existences capable of physical flight, including her mysterious one. "Auntie, you can do it?" Even when they were flying, this being who didn't hold her could act so calmly. This is more in line with the image that Jia Qi has always admired in her heart, the indomitable, extremely powerful and great Uncle Ju. Jia Yan also expressed emotion. After he understood through the words of his eldest niece that she actually remembered a trace of his impression from 10 years ago, he was a little shocked. He did not expect that the memory he had given to a little baby girl could be retained until now. It's just that Jiakai completely forgot that he was a giant mosquito, and everyone even called him an assassin. She just remembered that he was an extremely powerful uncle who would protect Jiakai very well. It happened that the year before last, my sister's family had given birth to a little girl. She felt that she had been neglected, so she dug out the memory of this existence and treated him as the relative who loved her most. "Kikai, when you go home, Can you please don't tell me that I am Jia Yan? Jia Yan hugged the little girl, wiped her nose with his sleeve, and then said, "Why? Mom, Dad, and Grandpa and Grandma all miss you very much," Jia Qi asked in surprise. She had no idea how complicated the situation was. The entire Jia family had some disbelief and suspicion about the fact that the younger generation did not mention their son. The more they thought about the identity of the big mosquito back then, the more they felt, it's strange, and in the past 2 years, the self-proclaimed Jia Yan's wife appeared, so that the Jia family didn't even visit Jia Yan's grave because it always felt wrong. Jia Yan let out a long sigh. To be honest, at first he thought he was hiding from the so-called Madam Sheriff, but now thinking about it, maybe this was an excuse in his heart. He was just out of nostalgia. I'm just timid and don't dare to see my family. But now, because his eldest niece knows the truth, it can be considered a step forward. Little Kikai, you don't understand. We each need some time. Just promise your uncle, okay, he said, rubbing Jia Qi's long hair that was messed up by the high breeze. Okay, then this is a little secret between my uncle and I. He, Jia Qi laughed happily. Jia Yan can always find the look of the little baby girl 10 years ago on her face, and the smile is as cute as before. At this moment, infected by her smile, Jia Yan also smiled lightly. Yes, family members meet. In addition to helping the Earth tide over its difficulties, isn't the purpose of my coming back also this? Jia Yan looked at the distant sunset and thought secretly in his heart. Okay, little Kikai. It's almost dark, we should go back. No. I also want to see the scenery in the sky. It's very fun. You can do this when you become a heaven-level person yourself. Alas. You are so old and you still love to act like a spoiled child. On this day, the Jia family was in great trouble because the eldest Princess Jia Qi was attacked again. Especially several senior officials of the garrison were almost intolerable to this incident. Princess Jia Kai herself returned to the Jia family very late under the protection of the new and extremely mysterious master of the guard team. No one knew how they left the entire city's surveillance system. But they all understood that with this mysterious master here, it seemed that there was really no need to worry about Princess Jia Kai's safety. Check. Let's get to the bottom of it. If MOK hadn't been here today, how many casualties would there have been? Would there be any problems with Princess Jia Kai's safety? It's our garrison's huge responsibility to tell the truth. But, it seems that if we had not withdrawn the personnel of the garrison, this kind of thing would not have happened. After all, it is also the reason of that MOK. This. Ahem, MOK is the top combat force in our defense team. He has no problem protecting Princess Kikai by himself. Let's follow the clues. It just so happens that our defense team has a lot of free manpower. This time we won't secretly send a few. The forces of the Jia family will be uprooted, and the reputation of our Jia family guard team will be completely ruined. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 720. Go to Divided by, rightward arrow to provide you with wonderful novels to read. Mail sign go to Divided by, rightward arrow to provide you with wonderful novels to read. Everyone in the Jia family discovered that Princess Kikai, who was originally extremely hostile to the new mysterious guard Moke, had actually changed her attitude towards Moke in the past few days. She often went alone to the back of the Jia family's woods to play with Moke. Strangely enough, the entire Jia family could not find Moke. It was strange that Jia Qi could easily find Moke every time she wanted to see him. There is even something that surprises everyone, that is, after Moke arrived, Princess Jia Kai began to pay attention to the practice that she didn't like very much. You can often hear Jia Lin talking about her daughter's hard work. 3 days passed like this. This is already the 4th day after Jia Yan returned. On this day, Jia Qi came to the place Jia Yan had agreed to, in the woods behind Jia's house, and called softly, Uncle chirp. Moo moo moo. There was a slight sound of footsteps behind her, and Jia Yan appeared from the ground. At the same time, in a certain institution of the Jia family, two people said in disbelief, "I don't believe it anymore. Is there really no way to monitor you?" Obviously these two people knew that Jia Yan was coming from the place where Princess Jia Qi appeared, but they felt their heads were spinning for a while, and then they felt that there was no one there, not even the little Princess Jia Qi. "I'll go. Why is it like this again? This guy is too evil." The two people looked at each other. At this moment, Jia Yan had already carried Jia Qi to the sky, 2 kilometers to the right. The scenery was very good. Jia Yan used to like to see the high-altitude scenery on the earth, but now that he's used to it, he thinks it's okay. However, little Jia Qi is obviously very similar to his uncle. At this moment, he is looking at the scenery below with an expression of great fondness. "Uncle, how about we fly to the Himalayas together next time? I heard that there is one of the highest mountains in the world, but I haven't been there yet," Jia Qi asked coquettishly, grabbing Jia Yan's mask from behind. "Don't make trouble. What will happen if you fall? Do you want to go to the Himalayas? Don't wait until next time, Jia Kai. Use your brainwave power to protect your body. Uncle is going to speed up." Jia Yan chuckled. After hearing this, Jia Qi quickly used his brainwave power to protect his body. His brainwave power suddenly accelerated. Boom! In the sky, a stream of light suddenly exploded. Jia Qi, who was lying behind Jia Yan, felt an incredible force of inertia pulling her back. She almost felt that the world in front of her had turned dark. But at this moment, her own brainwave power was playing a protective role, and a stronger and softer force immediately helped her gently, and Jia Kai quickly returned to her original state. "Haha, so fast, faster than any plane Kikai has ever flown on." Jia Qi opened her eyes and saw that the ground beneath her feet was like a rapidly receding tide, and she flew over thousands of mountains almost instantly. "Okay, sit tight, we're almost there," Jia Yan chuckled, and then slowly stopped in the air. Wow! What appeared in front of Jia Qi was a stretch of snow-capped mountains, several of which were still among the clouds, large tracts of snow, and a scene of water and sky connecting each other. Jia Qi, who had never seen such beautiful scenery, was almost surprised. Time screamed with surprise. "Haha, uncle, is this the Himalayas? It's so beautiful. It's even more beautiful when we look at it from a high altitude." Although Jia Qi felt cold, she still looked around happily. Of course, Jia Yan was of great help to Jia Qi during this period of flight and temperature changes. However, Jia Yan could have helped her completely resolve the inertial force of flight and the temperature invasion at this moment, but after thinking about it, Jia Yan still gave up the idea. Xiao Kakai is probably the most powerful and potential official member of the Jia family, except Jia Yan. Jia Yan has thought that if Jia Yan wants the Jia family to be safe in the future, another strong fighting force in the family is indispensable. Naturally, he would not count on the Madam Sheriff, let alone the suspected Jia Yan's son beside her. Jia Yan didn't know how to face these two guys now. It can be said that the greatest hope is placed on Jia Qi. And her talent is really good. Even in this 10 years, her strength has not grown as fast as Jia Yan expected due to her young age. But 11 years old is a time when she has just started. With his personal guidance, it is not impossible for Jia Qi to reach the peak of the sky level in the future, and there may even be the slightest possibility of reaching the starry sky level. In that case, the large Jia family is unlikely to decline in at least 1 or 2 generations. "Uncle, you are so kind." After Uncle Qi admired the scenery, she had great respect for Jia Yan, her uncle who was kind to her. You must know that Jia Qi was already a little indifferent to her at home, so she kept putting her sustenance in her memory. The vague Uncle Ju, but at this time, The Uncle Ju who could only appear in her mind really appeared in front of her eyes, and he was really so powerful, and he was so kind to her. Naturally, Jia was very interested in Jia Yan. The elders liked it even more. Haha. Little fool, if uncle doesn't treat you well, who will treat you well? You are my uncle's best behaved little niece. Jia Yan touched his cute niece's little head. However, he changed the topic and said something to Jia that shocked her under the beautiful scenery of the snow-capped mountains. Kikai, uncle is going out in a few days, can you just stay at home? Huh, when Jia heard this, her expression that was originally looking at the snow scene greedily changed. She stopped looking at the snow scene and quickly turned her head. Girls are girls, tears come when they come. Uncle. Are you leaving again? I won't let you leave. Jia burst into tears and turned into a little tearful person in the blink of an eye. Well, uncle won't be gone for so long this time. Just wait at home. After uncle comes back this time, he will be at home for a long time. Jia Yan explained somewhat depressedly. I don't care, I don't want you to leave. Otherwise, I'll go with you. Jia took advantage of her child's advantage and cried loudly, even though she was not that ignorant, but she refused to relax. Let's go together. Jia Yan pondered for a while. He thought it was not a bad idea. If he wanted Jia Lin to become a strong person, it would be good to let her experience fighting. If she really couldn't accept fighting, then it would be fine to give up early. Anyway, Jia Yan's clone can protect the Jia family. It's still a long time, and by then, God knows if the real body can send another clone. Well, okay, but you can think of a good reason to deceive your mother. I don't want to be read by her in the future. Jia Yan nodded. Jia tears suddenly turned into laughter. To be honest, Jia Yan was so powerful that he couldn't understand how a woman could cry and laugh so easily. Oh yeah. Thank you, Uncle Ju. Uncle Ju is the best. Kikai loves Uncle Ju to death. Jia laughed happily behind Jia Yan's back, extremely happy. The second day. Jia, who lied to her mother Jia Lin that she was going to organize a spring outing at school, greeted a group of Jia family guards early in the morning. It seemed that if they didn't help her disguise, they would look good to them in the future. The guards really have no choice. This little ancestor is stronger than them, and with the mysterious MOK protecting him, there shouldn't be any problem. At least on this earth, how many people can hurt little Princess Kikai under MOK's protection? Naturally, what they were thinking about was where on earth Jiakai and Mok were going to play. On earth, the members of their defense team were already extremely powerful beings, and that Mok was on another level of strength. If he can't protect the little princess, even if Jia is in the Jia family mansion, it will be useless. They guessed correctly, Jia Yan's strength can indeed protect Jia. But they guessed something wrong. That is, Jia Yan is not simply adventuring on Earth with little Jia. Uncle. Where are we going? Is it the underground world? I heard there are some powerful monsters there. Uncle G must have been fighting monsters underground for so many years to protect the Earth. When a bulletproof car parked in a forest on the outskirts of the city far away from Return City, Jia chirping voice kept ringing happily. She is like a very energetic bird, looking for the bookstore. She is constantly asking various questions around Jia Yan. Although her innocent and cute appearance is amusing, after a long time even Jia Yan becomes confused. Some thought she was noisy. Little Jiakai was carrying a big backpack today. I heard that it was a trip that lasted several days. Jia Lin also specially asked her servants to prepare a lot of dry food and other things. A huge backpack blocked Jia's small body. Fortunately, she has brainwave power, and using it makes the backpack much lighter, so she can still be so lively. The two of them kept walking towards the woods. The driver of the bulletproof car behind was the one Jia Yan had met several times. He was sitting in the car at the moment. His mission was just to wait here for a few days and then pick up Jia and Jia Yan. Fortunately, there is still a tent. Alas, these days have been difficult. I don't know what tricks this MOK is up to. Is he training Princess Kikai? But training in such an ordinary suburb is so difficult for a local. What's the use of the existence of a super peak? I don't understand, I don't understand. He lit up a cigarette, then looked at the mountain peaks over there, opened the lighter, and wanted to light the fireworks. But at the next moment, the flames shot out and stopped directly at the cigarette butt. The driver was stunned. Because above this mountain, a medium-sized Earth Alliance fleet warship was flying slowly and gliding directly towards it. Even a medium-sized warship is more than 100 meters long and blocks the light from the entire hilltop. The next moment, the driver saw a masked figure holding a little girl on the top of the mountain, slowly flying up, and then passed through the battleship's opened hatch and entered directly. Cough cough cough, the driver choked on the smoke, and then opened his mouth wide. Holy shit. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 721. Just when the entire Geo family garrison became confused when they found the existence of MOK, who did not take Jia on an adventure on the Earth, but took her on a space battleship of the Earth fleet and entered the elimination system of the universe. A stream of light flew from the ground to upwards in the sky. If you are a military enthusiast on Earth, you will know that this is a medium-sized warship that has just been officially launched by the Earth fleet. Its performance and combat effectiveness are at the mid-range level, and it is even much more powerful than some large-scale ships. But there seemed to be an unusual atmosphere in the battleship at this moment. Your Excellency Moke, I don't know why you got the consent of our fleet leaders to take Princess Jiakai away from the Earth, but I hope you will not cause any harm to our Earth's treasure, little Princess Jiakai, otherwise, even if I risk disobeying the mission, I will stop what you are doing. A tall and strong man met two passengers, one large and one small, in the battleship. However, at this moment, he did not look very good towards the two passengers. For Jia Yan, this existence is somewhat hostile. As for Jia, she seemed to be kind to her. It seemed that this being felt that Jia Yan had no good intentions for what he was doing at this moment. Don't worry, I remember you. I think I met you on my birthday. Thank you. Jia seemed familiar with the captain and recognized him now. It's great that Princess Jiakai can get to know me. Little princess, I hope you don't trust others casually. You may not remember that when you were a child, you once encountered a kidnapping in the universe. I hope you will not encounter it again this time. Something like that. The captain gently approached the two, as if trying to snatch the little princess away from Jia Yan. Although he had seen it in person before, the existence of Jia Yan seemed to have directly carried the little princess and flew onto the battleship, but for him, he simply did not believe that such a existence existed among the people on Earth. The other party must have used some special. This can only be done with the required equipment. After all, it is not impossible for people on Earth today to have similar equipment. And if it is really flying in the flesh, then he will not believe in this existence even more. If the opponent's strength reaches the heaven level, he is definitely not an Earthling. Will people from the universe have a good impression of Earthlings? This is definitely another conspiracy. Even if he died, he would prevent such a thing from happening. Don't worry, I won't do anything to her. Jia Yan shook his head, naturally knowing what the other person was thinking. At this moment, he used a little bit of brainwave power. Although the captain was also an existence that had reached the early stage of the Earth level, he was directly restrained by Jia Yan with a sudden movement. Okay, I don't need you to send us for a long time, just wait. Jia Yan shook his head, and at this moment he directly showed his brainwave power and controlled the entire battleship. All the battleships were almost stunned. All of them were unable to move, but the battleship was still moving on its own, as if someone was vaguely operating on their behalf. Not long after, the battleship arrived 1,000 kilometers away from the Earth. Okay, little Kikai, Uncle is going to get some equipment. We will change the ride soon. Jia Yan took Jia Qi's little hand and walked out of the battleship. The Earth fleet soldiers on the entire battleship had not yet breathed a sigh of relief, but suddenly they heard a crisp sound erupting from the battleship. Beep beep beep. Alarms sounded all around in the battleship, making everyone extremely frightened. But at this moment, a voice rang in their ears again. Don't worry, I'm just dismantling some useful things. I've already negotiated with your fleet marshal. Naturally, the fleet captain was very familiar with this voice. Wasn't it the contact person of the secret mission who frightened him so much, MOK? At this moment, the captain could only feel a sense of disbelief and deep shock. You must know that this MOK just controlled the entire battleship without any warning. At this point, can a heaven-level powerhouse do it? As a high-ranking officer of the Earth fleet, he was very aware of the strength of several heaven-level warriors in the Earth fleet, and they had also conducted drills in which the heaven-level warriors invaded the battleship and killed people. At that time, he had no idea. I don't think Marshal Carey, the strongest man in the Earth fleet and possibly the strongest man on Earth, is as powerful as this mysterious man. He, who is he? More powerful than Marshal Carey, is there a strong level above the heaven level? Then what level is above the heaven level? The captain only thought I was dizzy, and at this moment I felt that I had seen the most unbelievable scene in the world. However, he never thought that this being would be the great assassin from 10 years ago. Although the pronunciation of the two words was subtly similar, he did not dare to think that the big mosquito would actually become a person. After all, this is a violation of the laws of the universe when it comes to tiny humans, right? And just when he was thinking wildly, the random noises in the entire fleet disappeared. The next moment, the captain found himself able to move. But before he could come to his senses, an unbelievable report from the captain's room rang through the communicator. Ship, Your Excellency, Captain, this smoker, he tore apart a section of our battleship, with his bare hands. When the captain rushed to the command room, he was stunned, and even more stunned than the people around him. This captain seemed to have a different illusion in his entire life today. He felt that his life was not just a dream. Being able to make a captain with a strong psychological quality become suspicious of life shows how terrible this impact was on the captain. The reason was not other, because at this moment he saw that he had just obtained and became the captain of this mysterious new battleship for just half a year. The medium-sized battleship that he had not yet tried in the war was actually a large part of the rear, being occupied by a man. The existence was torn apart with bare hands, then carried and flown to another direction not far from the vacuum of the universe. This being looked like a thief, but not like one, because he did it in full view of the public. But what happened to his grandma? Destroy the battleship with your bare hands. A warship that can theoretically defend against nuclear bombs. And he didn't appear to be in any difficulty at all. He looked cheerful and smiled from time to time with the little girl wearing a small spacesuit, Princess Jiakai, sitting on his shoulder. That's a vacuum. Do you consider it your home? Where can humans fly in the universe without using spacesuits? Even if there are several heaven-level beings on the Earth, it doesn't seem to be that simple, right? Who can do it except the great being from 10 years ago, Lord Assassin? At least the people on Earth have never heard of it, okay. But MOK did it just like that. His face under the mask was captured by the surveillance camera. He seemed to be very content and kept crying and joking with Jiachi floating on his shoulders. I'll choke you, the middle-aged captain felt all messed up. He didn't know whether it was excitement or something else, but his feet were all weak at this moment. Quickly connect me to the Earth Fleet Affairs Office, no. Directly connect me to Marshal Carey. I want to ask, what is this MOK? How could it be so So terrifying. The entire fleet was stunned by the scene in front of them. They first received a secret mission inexplicably, and then they arrived outside the city and received the smoke who could physically fly into the sky. Later, the captain discovered that MOK was actually holding a member of the most noble family in the earth, the eldest princess of the Geo family, Jia, and had a grinding match with him. Everything that happened after that will probably be remembered by the entire fleet. Lifetime. Maybe this moccasin was tired of arguing with the captain, so he directly used his huge power to control the entire battleship instantly. Then something happened that made them doubt their lives. This human-like existence actually took the little Princess Jia, who was wearing a spacesuit, and flew out of the universe together. Of course, this existence he himself had no protection at all, but he was just like on the planes. Not only did he survive, but he was also extremely flexible. That was all, but this being actually started tearing apart the battleship. Everyone who saw the scene on the surveillance camera thought that their eyes were dazzled. It was a battleship with extremely terrifying defenses. But this MOK just tore it up, and let him tear it up casually, just like tearing a piece of paper, tearing off a large piece easily. Of course, before tearing this area, the crew here he had already moved it to another area. After tearing it apart, the smiling man picked up the dozens of meters long part of the ship and flew somewhere in the universe, slowly and leisurely, following the excited little girl on his shoulder, using the power of his brain waves to chatting and spanking. How could this kind of existence not make everyone on the ship doubt their lives? When did they enter the universe, they didn't have to make repeated calculations, sign a life and death agreement, and then leave a suicide note with their family before they went to work in the vacuum of the universe in fear. This one was better. He just put on some clothes and went out, just like usual. Nothing happened. Especially when he tore off a piece of a battleship and left like that. Naturally, Jia Yan and Xiao Kekai flew away happily. Uncle Ju is so awesome. Uncle Ju is so awesome. The battleship tore off such a big piece, ha ha ha. Kekai is flying around the universe with Uncle Ju now, ha ha ha, it's so fun. When Jia saw Jia Yan tearing off a battleship with his bare hands, she went crazy with joy. Now sitting on Jia Yan's shoulders, his little feet were kicking with excitement. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 722. Go to Divided by, rightward arrow to provide you with wonderful novels to read. Mail sign. Go to Divided by, rightward arrow to provide you with wonderful novels to read. Don't kick, don't kick. If you kick again, your uncle will be kicked to pieces. Jia Yan chuckled. He was happy to see his niece happy. No way, Uncle Ju can even dismantle a battleship with his hands. How could I possibly kick you into pieces? But Uncle Ju, where are we going? Little Kekai happily looked at the surrounding cosmic scenery. What she didn't know at this moment was that even if she was a high-level Earth-level existence, it was still very dangerous in space 1,000 kilometers away from the Earth. The realm of the Earth, but Jia Yan's brainwave power protected her at this moment. Even if something happened to the spacesuit at this time, he could send little Kekai back to the battleship at any time. Of course, how could there be so many unexpected situations? At this moment, Jia happily followed Jia Yan, just laughing with excitement. Uncle will take you to Uncle's spaceship. Let's go to a place far, far away from the Earth, Jia Yan replied. Okay, let's go to a place far away from the Earth. I have been to the moon last time. Did my uncle take me further than the moon? Jia Kai is not such a simple little girl. Other people's children are thinking at this moment. Going to the moon is not easy. She wants to go there on a battleship that can carry out missions from the Earth fleet at any time. But Jia Yan only took her to the moon, which would be too underestimated for Jia Yan. Of course uncle won't take you to the moon. What's the point of being so close? How about uncle taking you to the edge of the solar system? It's very fun there, Jia Yan replied mysteriously. But when he thought about this past time, he might let Xiao Kekai see the battle with aliens, and he sighed a little. If possible, he didn't want to do this, but it all depends on Xiao Kekai's own thoughts. If she doesn't want to see it, then Jia Yan won't let her see it when he fights. Huh? Go to the edge of the solar system. Dad is there too, as well as the bearded uncle. The little girl's eyes suddenly lit up. Huh? Your father is there too? I never saw these two former killer bastards. They actually ran so far away, especially the guy with the eyes. He dared to leave my sister and lovely niece behind. Going to such a dangerous place. Hearing Jia Qi talking about those two people, Jia Yan realized why he had never seen these two people. At this moment, he was really angry. The technology of the Earth people has not yet reached the perfection of interstellar travel. These two guys, especially it was the bespectacled killer who married his own sister. He dared to abandon his wife and son. What was he doing there? Dad is not a bastard. Uncle, please don't call my dad a bastard. He went on an adventure for the people on Earth. That's what Mom said. Little Jiakai actually confronted Jia Yan for her father. If your father isn't a bastard, who is? Okay, it's just him if he doesn't tell me. Seeing that his niece was about to get angry, Jia Yan quickly changed the subject. While the nephews and grandnephews were talking, the members of the first battleship over there had already contacted the fleet admiral on the ground, who was also the only alien monster that Jia Yan had revealed his identity before. What? Just let him do whatever he does. Marshal, what he demolished is our latest battleship. Last time, you were so outraged that a battleship was damaged by those guys from the Academy of Sciences. Why did you do it so casually this time? Doesn't matter anymore? Our main battleship in the future war, how can you just let it go so easily? The strong-man captain listened to the words on the other side in astonishment, looking in disbelief. You mean, with this person, the war will be won? I. The captain put down the communicator in his hand a little distractedly, and then stared dumbly at the large and small figures leaving on the screen. On their flying figures, there was also a huge remnant of the battleship that was taken away. Man in mask holds flying. Who is this? Even Marshal Carey is afraid of it. Jia Yan naturally knows what the battleship members behind him are saying about him. You must know that the distance his brainwave power affects is a full 1,000 kilometers. At this moment, he has flown with little Jia Qi for a long time, and he has not yet flown 1,000 kilometers. Love upward arrow go small downward arrow talk netuku. Reached. At a certain moment, Jia Yan said softly, and behind this place, the battleship's monitoring system could no longer see their figures. In fact, the battleship had already issued a strict gag order and unknown reasons. Next, it's time to return. At this moment, Jia Qi and Jia Yan have been flying for so long, and the earth below still looks huge. This is the first time for Jia Qi to fly in the universe like this. Her big eyes keep looking down, and sometimes she makes a gurgling sound. Laughter. Where are you, uncle? There is nothing here. Jia Qi looked around strangely, and then became confused. Haha, look at it. Jia Yan's brainwave power was gently activated. Right in front of his eyes, something like a small cabin slowly appeared. Wow, what a small spaceship. When Jia Qi saw this airship-like thing, she looked at it curiously. She saw that not only was the airship small overall, but the internal operation cabin was even smaller. Okay, Kikai, wait here, uncle will modify this spaceship. Jia Yan carefully placed Jia Qi in place, and then flew out. The part he removed from the battleship was just for this moment. He roughly twisted that part around. In fact, Jia Yan was not simply messing with it, but had long been optimistic about the model. The part of the battleship he had in his hands now contained a complete living space of a battleship. You must know that a space of tens of meters long and wide is enough for living. Jia Yan pulled a steel cable directly to his space capsule. Although it was only a dozen meters long, he would rely on it for movement in the future. It didn't take long for this simple space docking to be completed. So that's it. Jia Qi seemed to remember some memories from her childhood. At this moment, she controlled her body and flew in space with the power of brainwaves. The two entered the living space bundled behind the space capsule. Jia Yan used the power of brainwaves to activate this part of the independent life support system, and then it had functions such as oxygen production. It's so fun, Uncle is so awesome. Jia Kai happily took off her spacesuit and ran around in the living space. Okay, we have to leave quickly, otherwise we might not be able to catch up with things at the border. If your father really dies there, I don't care. Your mother will definitely cry. Jia Yan shook his head and smiled. Not long after, the simple ship that was spliced together was slowly accelerating under the drag of the space capsule in front. Jia Qi, who was playing with Jia Yan in the living cabin, didn't understand what a terrifying technology this was. Jia Yan didn't need to directly control it, and the space cabin actually made the voyage on its own. And at a certain moment, the living cabin at the rear suddenly twisted and entered the subspace. Without entering subspace, it is simply impossible to reach the edge of the solar system in a few days. It takes an ordinary Earth spacecraft at least several months or even years to reach the Kuiper belt. This is the result of the rapid advancement of Earth spacecraft technology, and what they can only reach is close to the edge of the Earth. If they want to truly reach the edge of the solar system, still far, far away. But for Jia Yan, this distance is not a big deal, and he can easily fly there in a while. Kuiper belt. Here, groups of simple warships are lying in ambush. Because the ambush tactics used by the Earth fleet when facing the Asta semi-combat aircraft carrier last time were more effective, this time the Earthlings chose this tactic again. Because the opponent's forward team made a surprise attack some time ago, the people on Earth were prepared. At this moment, they covered themselves deeper and became more powerful. Among these warships, there was a fleet of about 20 warships, commanded by two acquaintances as fleet commanders. Xiao Yao, I didn't expect that even though I'm 50 years old, I can still take advantage of you and become the deputy commander of the fleet at this age. In this team, a big man with a gray beard smiled and expressed his happiness to the middle-aged man wearing glasses on the side. I said, "Can you please stop calling me Xiao? We are all old and young, but don't say you are old. The Earth has not just been studied, and it is said that as long as the current health conditions of the Earth are come on, isn't it difficult for humans to live to 200 years old? And your strength is about to reach the Earth level. As long as you reach the Earth level, you can live to 250 years old. 50 years old is just a youth, okay." The man wearing glasses on one side frowned and retorted to the bearded man next to him. These two people were actually the ones who brought him some help after Jia Yan first became a mosquito. At this moment, they all have some traces of time due to the passage of time. Especially the beard. I don't know if it's because he's been so good with women over the years, but he actually looks a little aging. Haha, yes, but let me see, we may not survive this time. I forget it, but why do you come? After all, you are a member of the Geo family. If what I said is right, the Geo family, their escape route has been arranged long ago. If the Earth cannot be defended, they can retreat to a secluded place to survive. Suddenly the bearded man raised his head and said seriously, "Xiao Yao, I know you don't want me to take risks on my own, but you should consider Xiaolin's mother and daughter. If you die, you will leave a woman with 2 girls. It's not a good life. Forget it, I know their retreat. They can only hold on for a year or 2 at most. If they can escape now, what about in 1 or 2 years? Rather than die under that kind of helplessness, I would rather die here with these comrades. And you see, the blocking fleet arranged our team in the rear, and they also have the intention of taking care of us. Don't worry, you have forgotten that our horses have experienced so many lives and deaths. How can we die so easily? The middle-aged man wearing glasses shook his head. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 723. Welcome to Renren Novel. Please remember the address of this website. Read on your mobile phone so that you can read the latest chapter of the novel Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky at any time. In fact, as former killers, the two of them have always had a desire to fight. It's just that when people on Earth came to the era of strong brainwave power, and with the addition of advanced war technology, these two people did not have a strong talent for brainwave power. Not too young anymore. Therefore, they cannot enjoy the feeling of real fighting at all. In addition, they all have families, and they can't look away from the attachment to life and death at this moment. To put it bluntly, even though they came, they all found themselves scared to death. Major General, there is a signal from the front, saying that enemy traces have been found. Just as the two continued to talk, a report came to their communicators. It's really here. The graybeard twitched, and then stood up quickly. I'm going back to my command ship, Xiaoao. I hope we can survive this time. Goodbye. Two people who had been comrades for decades were separated like this. No one knew whether there would be a chance for the two to meet again in the future. The strength of the opponent is known to the entire Earth fleet. Almost no one thinks that their team in the blocking battle can survive. Even the son-in-law of the Geo family's entry-level Major General who is placed in the rear is hard to say. No, because the enemy doesn't care about his identity. The whole ship listens to my order, suppresses the idea of attacking, and waits for the enemy to get closer. The signal blocker we installed was sent back by another distant Earth fleet and our future comrades who spent a lot of effort. The other party may not be able to find our traces as long as they are close. We will dispatch the largest force bombing tactics, striving to kill the enemy with one strike. In the communicator, there was a message that as the commander-in-chief, a man faced the Rulan Empire's semi-combat aircraft carrier 10 years ago. He commanded the battleship and killed the enemy heroically. In the end, although the battleship was almost destroyed by the attack, he still fought to the death. A great human hero. The difference is that this being had a low status back then, but now he is the highest officer of the entire blocking team and the commander-in-chief of the team of 700 Earth blocking battleships, Lieutenant General Karen. Just after the Lieutenant General issued the general mobilization, a private communication was received by the bespectacled son-in-law of the Geo family. Major General, you have a special status. If the war becomes serious in a while, I hope you can evacuate first. This voice turned out to be that of Lieutenant General Karen, who had just mobilized the entire fleet for battle. At this time, he actually asked the former killer to wear glasses and escape first. Haha, Lieutenant General Keong, the middle-aged man wearing glasses, smiled lightly. Maybe you don't know my previous career, so you don't know me. Now you don't need to say anything. I have experienced life and death again and again, and I have taken many adventures, but none of them were really fighting for the human race on Earth. This time, you don't need to persuade me. I hope to truly fight for the people of Earth, and fight as a member of the Geo family. This is the honor of the Geo family, and please don't put me in the position of a coward, thank you. Okay, thank you Major General for explaining the spirit of the Geo family to me, and wish me good luck. Good luck, the middle-aged man wearing glasses replied calmly. After turning off the communicator, he sat down. The battle was approaching, but he was strangely not nervous at all. This middle-aged man wearing glasses also felt a little strange about himself. Perhaps it's because I've experienced too much in the past, and I think life and death are no longer considered, he smiled mockingly to himself. But for some reason, he took out the communicator, and then lightly press the special button on the ultra-long band. This ultra-long band button is reserved for battleship members to write suicide notes. As soon as the writing is completed, the special transmitting device in the battleship will transmit this band in the direction of the Earth. Of course, because the technological capabilities are still too weak, it is still unknown whether the Earth can receive it. It's all just luck. Xiaolin, this is the first time I've written to you. It's also the first time I've told you my true feelings. When we first met, I remember it was before the Earth's catastrophe. At that time, I only thought that you were a girl who wanted to avenge your brother. I even laughed at you for your impulsiveness. But how you behaved afterwards, shocked me again and again. Today, your impulsive personality has changed a lot, but I understand that you are still the girl who dared to act, love and hate. If you really want to say it, maybe I'll already fall in love with you after one meeting. My dear daughter Kikai, when you read this letter, your father may be gone. But don't cry. My father has never thought that being a member of the Geo family is so good. At a certain time, I even felt that I was a member of the Geo family. The Geo family was also angry after being disappointed by special treatment. But this time, my father really felt that it was good to be a Geo family. If my death can be exchanged for the people on Earth, with a little bit of struggle, we can finally drive out the enemy. Home, then Dad will die with no regrets. Daughter, Dad knows that he has been in debt to you, Mom and sister in the past few years. I am really sorry, Dad loves you. Xiaoruruo, Dad is sorry that I have only met you a few times. Will you talk now? If you grow up enough to understand Dad's letter, it will probably represent the Earth at that time. It's a crisis, right? Whether it's repelling the enemy or being occupied by the Asta Empire, in short, it's good to be able to survive. Xiaoruruo, I'm sorry, my father has never hugged you. Now my father feels sorry. After writing the long letter, the middle-aged man wearing glasses took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. He didn't know whether it was because his eyes were sore or because he was crying. Okay, the battle is about to begin. Dad's battleship will send out the Geo family's signal. In the war, the Geo family will be the greatest spiritual sustenance for the soldiers. Dad already knows the reason for the Geo family's existence. The Geo family is the representative of the assassins on Earth, and it is also the current spirit of the people on Earth, the unyielding spirit. The fighting spirit. As a member of the Geo family, as the only mature man in the Geo family now, I will give faith to the warriors, we have confidence and fight, to the end. After writing this, the middle-aged man wearing glasses stood up. He picked up the handwritten letter, and then a series of fonts were displayed on the brain screen. His fingers were trembling a little, and he clicked the send button. After clicking the button, he sat back on the chair as if exhausted. Haha, why do I always feel like I have endless things to say? Forget it, let's just do it. As my father, the last glorious image, my wife and daughters should worship me. He smiling self-deprecatingly. Sir. Oh no. That semi-combat aircraft carrier actually saw through our signal screen. It's charging towards us. Just when he relaxed, the soldier's frightened remarks came from the communicator. The middle-aged man wearing glasses shook his fingers slightly. I knew it, where could such a smooth war happen? He smiled and then stood up from his chair. Gently arranging his clothes, just like more than 10 years ago, when he was about to go to war, he always tidied his luggage very carefully. His fighting spirit and professional instinct as a killer are about to break out again at this moment. However, the final outcome of this outbreak will only be blooming and withering, death. Pass my command, the team will assemble the battle formation with this flagship as the center point. At the same time, this ship will continue to emit my Geo family identification signal. Tell all the soldiers on the front. My Geo family will always be with you. The only adult male in my Geo family, will live and die with you. A bright light lit up the sky. It was the light of an explosion. At the place where the explosion occurred, a huge battleship slowly approached, like an invincible ancient behemoth, charging towards the invisible Earth battleships here at an unbelievable speed. At the same time, its cabin continuously spits out battleships that are tens of meters or about 100 meters long, and there are also a large number of various combat robots mixed in among them. Overwhelming, the number of individual units reached nearly 10,000 in an instant, which shows how much war preparations this huge battleship has made at this moment. As for the Earth sneak attack fleet here, there are only 700 in number. And whether it's advanced level or experience in space warfare, it's far behind the other party. But no matter how much the number is reduced or how far behind they are, when the Geo family members continue to send signals, the entire fleet seems to be full of courage at this moment. The enemy was overwhelming and they fought back. The war has begun. And it's almost thousands of kilometers away from here. A strange-looking flying vessel was slowly flying towards this place at this moment. Uncle, is Dad really not in danger? Will the enemy you mentioned come in advance? Little Kikai was sitting in the flight cabin eating ice cream with her little feet crossed. The little girl really enjoyed this trip, because Jia Yan didn't care how much ice cream she ate, and she could see such a real universe. For her, being with her uncle was like living a life of being loved and cared for by her elders. You can see a lot of extraordinary scenery in life. But after hearing what Jia Yan said about the situation ahead, she was still a little worried. No, Uncle has calculated that the enemy will arrive in a day at the earliest. We can arrive today. With Uncle here, even if your father, that bastard, wants to die, I can save him. Jia Yan was on the side of the living cabin. He was operating the equipment in the living cabin at this moment. After all, this living cabin requires human operation to operate the living equipment. At this moment, Jia Yan suddenly saw that a public message had been received in the living cabin equipment. What's the matter, Uncle chirped. Seeing Jia Yan's strange look, the little girl ran over with her little feet pitter-patter. This is a suicide note. Thank you to the book friends who have subscribed to the official version. Thank you for your official subscription. The first update will be around 2240, and the second update will be at 2340. The ones I have seen before are probably anti-piracy chapters. Thank you support.